everybody, and welcome to another walkthrough of the Text Guide with me and RJTV. Hey buddy, how are you doing?
Man, it's really late here. My voice gets all, kind of hard to, hopefully we can get through this, but, I'm doing pretty good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for being here, and I just absolutely love that program that you do have. It's it's awesome, but yeah, it's awesome to have you here, and we're gonna go over the text guides once again for you for the Holiday Hills tournament, and we're going to take hole 1 to hole 9. It's going to be a little bit longer video, but please make sure that you do comment in the comment section below if you do have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe here to the channel, also to It's RJTV. Check it out. Hit that button. So in the end, my friend, I don't think we're going to hold up here any longer, and we're just gonna go to hole number 1. So for hole number 1, we're gonna play a par 3. So how do we play hole number 1 from front? T.
Well, right off the bat, we got a 15% hole, which is always kind of rough because you never know, are you going to go 20 or are you going to go 10? No, you're going to go right in the middle at 15%. Viper's going to work great if you have at least 4 bars of backspin. That's what I would go with. Along with a Marlin, you're going to want to put your white ring by the fringe and aim right at the pin in the rookie division.
Yes, from second tee, we're also going to use 15%, but here we're going to play with the sniper every single time. Doesn't matter what type of wind you're gonna have, you're gonna play with the sniper. We're gonna back up a little bit. If you look at the black box there, we're gonna back up a little bit using the white ring to the right by the sand there to the right. And we're gonna use somewhere between 1.5 bar topspin when it comes to tailwind. Crosswind. When we do have tailwind, we'll go back and play without any topspin. If we do have a headwind, we're gonna use up to 2.5 to 3 bars topspin, depending on the wind strength. Bounce on the fairway up to the green. It's going to be a very simple birdie due to its the big green, where it kind of is very forgiving and it's going to take you towards the pin. Master T, if we do have a crosswind or a headwind, we're going to play with a driver. If we do have a tailwind, we'll play with a wood club. The only difference here in terms of position is if we do have a tailwind, we're going to back up to play it before the big bunker on the left. So we're going to play it very much further up, and there the elevation most likely is going to be slightly different because we're not going to play the ball to such a position down the fairway. Like if we do have to play according to the black line, we're gonna get the ball to a position further down than it would be up the top of the fairway. Hope it makes sense, but but yeah, that's at least what we're going to do here on hole number 1. Hole number 2, par 5 of the Nordic Fjords. RJ, my friend, how do you play hole 2 from front tee?
Hole 2 is a lot easier than what I've been seeing a lot. I see so many people taking the black line and ending up either in the sand, but more frequently they bounce over with too much topspin on the left-hand side with the black boxes there. It's a 10% adjustment. An extra mile is what you're going to need for the distance. And you're also going to need a power 3 ball, so I have the Titan there. In a tailwind, you're going to want probably about full backspin to ensure that your ball stops on time. Just make sure your ball guide shows that it's going slightly past the sand there. But in a headwind, you're probably going to want to go all the way up to possibly 1 topspin. Again, we don't know what the winds are going to be. Either way that you go, though, you're going to want full left spin, and we're going to hop over the sand just like the black boxes on the screen indicate. That'll take us to our second shot, which is 0%. And I like the big dog because if you don't get up high enough, it's not really a big deal. I don't think you're going to need any spin, maybe 1 top spin, 1 back spin, depending on wind, to get you to the hole. And I wouldn't go with anything less than a big dog unless you're really good at driving all the way up to the very top there.
From second tee, we're going to play it exactly the same. Doesn't matter what type of wind we're going to have. We're going to follow the black line here. And it's not that it's going to be the easiest of the drives, but it's at least going to give you an opportunity for the albatross. It's also going to give you a much easier eagle chance. The max left side spin all the time. And here we do have the same type of thing. In a tailwind, we're going to use backspin. But I would say 1 to 1.5 bar is going to be enough. If you have a crosswind, you go without top and backspin. If you do have a headwind, you're going to use 1 to 2 bars of topspin just to make sure that you bounce over the bunker. You might have to go with a little bit of overpowering headwind. I say might because it all depends on what type of club you're using, what type of ball you're using. I also think playing from the second tee, you can actually spend a dead ball here. Like a power 4 ball gives wind resistance 3 ball. We have pudding ball. We do have a bunch of other balls as well with the same type of stats. Sure, I don't really like that we need to play with a special ball, but it could be something to use, especially if you have a driver like an extra mile level 5, level 6, or something like that, and you need extra distance. For the second shot, if we do have a tailwind, I would consider us to play with a sniper, because with a tailwind we can use the wind in our favor. And then we don't really need that much of distance when it comes to the second shot. Otherwise, I would be playing with the big dog or the cataclysm to make sure that I'm not having to overpower my second shot. Because we all know when we have to overpower, that's going to be really, really tough. 10% extra for the drive, nothing for the second shot. And that also is the same for 30. When you play with your driver there. The only difference though is that if you have a headwind, you have no chance whatsoever to reach over the bunker on the left. Then you have to play out to the white, not to the white, to the left, to the right, and follow the white line. And the only thing you should see though, if you play according to the white line, is that you are playing for the eagle. You're not playing for the albatross because you have so many obstacles in your way. So that's going to be really, really tough. Hole number 3 is a par 4 that should really be a par 3 in my opinion. But RJ, how do we play hole number 3 from front tee?
I completely agree. The main thing you want to pay attention to here, in my opinion, is your elevation, because we are going to be playing up near the rough and the sand line. Obviously, we're going to go with at least 4+ topspin to make sure we can get out of the rough, but that's still going to push us up a little. And if we don't make adjustments for the rough, you could easily land in the rough or the sand and make your second shot really hard and end up playing for par. This is really a must eagle hole, I feel, if you want to place high. And with the 4 topspin, what we're going to do is we're going to bounce on the fairway, but our second bounce is going to land in the rough. Now, because we're not doing a rough bump and the second bounce is landing in the rough, you need to make sure that you have enough topspin so it can kick out on the green. However, you also want to make sure that you don't miss the green or hit it too hot to where it could roll right past the pin and into the rough or the sand behind. But that's why I say right around 4+ topspin is perfect. Make your elevation adjustment, and you should be getting eagles on this in every, on your front 9 and your back 9.
Yes, must eagle from second tee and 13, no matter what type of wind you're gonna have. The only thing to think about here that I always mention when we have this hole up is the compressed and the extended ball guideline, which tells you that, okay, in tailwind you have a much longer first bounce, and in a headwind you have a much shorter first bounce. And that is something you need to think about, and therefore you cannot use the same spin adjustment for headwind and tailwind and also crosswind. You need to change. So in tailwind, in crosswind, you play with the quarterback or the rock. I would consider the rock because it has more distance and it would be helping you a little bit. But at the same time, the only thing to focus on there is that you have 4 to 5 bars of topspin on your club, which the rock has in a higher level. The quarterback level 9+ does also have at least 4 bars topspin. And that helps you with, if you hit a great shot, you have a good accuracy, which makes a great shot not be the end of the world. If you would like be playing with an extra mile and hitting a great shot and only have 50 in accuracy, that's obviously going to make it much tougher for you to get the ball to the position that you do want. 10% over adjustment, and then we're going to, as RJ said, bounce on fairway, bounce in the rough, and roll to the green. And sure, you can come in too hot or you can go short, but I would say if you're gonna miss something here, you want to go long, because going short makes it much harder to get it in from the sand or from the rough. But it's going to be a must eagle from second tee. Third tee the same. The only thing that comes here that could be something to have in mind is, like, if we do have tailwind, we can, with a club that gives us backspin, which is, and also curl for that matter, which is Apocalypse level 6 and level 7. Only those two type of clubs. Then we play according to the white line, where we do curl it in towards the green using max backspin and as much side spin to the right possible. That's a way that is played on Tour 12 a lot in Tailwind, makes the eagle very easy, but also opens up for the hole-in-one if you're going to be very lucky. Otherwise, we're gonna bounce the same type of structure when playing from the third tee. Only thing there, headwind, you're going to have to go with max overpower and most likely going to have to use a special ball to reduce the wind a little bit. So for hole number 4, we're going to play a par 3. There is a lot of lines on the picture and we're gonna try to cover most of it at least. RJ, how do we play hole 4 from the front tee?
Well, actually, we could use one more box. For rookie, I would say with a Viper, let's aim just below where the white box is, just to the right-hand side of the sand. With a Navigator or a Marlin, you're going to want about 3 backspin. Just so you know you're aiming in the right spot, you want your red ring by the right rough, and your second bounce should be by the fringe, aiming at the pin. Not likely for a hole-in-one, but that should get you pretty close. This is a tough par 3.
Yeah, it is. It honestly is. And from second tee, would you have multiply options? And I would say the rough bump lies closest to me. We played the rough bump in the last tournament. We played this one and had a few nice hole-in-ones, but also had some very inconsistent wrestle from the rough as well. So, but I know playing the rough bump will get you very close, and here I would once again try to suggest the rock instead of the quarterback, especially in headwind. Sorry, last time we had headwind, we in a high wind had the quarterback make us go in between clubs using a kingmaker. So I think the rock here would be a very good club. Otherwise, I would see the black line being the best way to play from second tee, using a sniper, bouncing over the bunker up towards the pin. It doesn't really matter if you come in a little bit hot here, especially when it's not a shootout, when it's only like a course where we're looking for the hole-in-one, or it's otherwise going to be a birdie. But it's going to be a tough one, an inconsistent hole with very few hole-in-ones. 10% over adjustment from whatever tee you're playing from. Hole number 5 also, so many lines. But RJ, which would be the best if we're playing from the front tee?
You know, the wind could actually change this from black line to yellow line for rookies. I think that white line's a little on the risky side for most rookies. But what I'd like to really focus on is the yellow line or gold line, whichever you want to call it. It's going to be a 10% downhill grade. Bring the extra mile, bring a quasar, and we're going to want to bounce over the sand and the rough where you see the bushes there in between the 2 yellow boxes with anywhere between 1 to 3 topspin depending on the wind direction. Then we're going to have a backbone shot to the pin. You're going to want to make sure that you use full right spin and about 3 to 4 backspin, because if you don't get up high enough, there's a really good chance that where that yellow box is, you can drag that back a little bit more closer to the bunker, and you're going to have to land kind of like in the bottleneck there. So you might even need to bring a little bit of right curl if you don't get up high enough. Everything is dependent on your drive, but it's not like if you clip the rough that you can't make it to the green in two. Definitely a birdie hole in my opinion.
Yeah, same here, like from second tee with most of the winds. If we do have a tailwind, I think that's the most interesting route to actually cover here. If you do have a tailwind, you're gonna play the black line. We're going to go with full overpower, using a club with 6 to 7 bars of topspin, and we're gonna use as much left side spin as possible. Most likely going to use half a ball to 1 ball of curl to the left, and the plan is to bounce where the second box is according to the black line over to the third box. From there, we're going to give ourselves a very nice opportunity with a dunk. And I know there might be some of you that aren't familiar or comfortable with the dunk, but I think the dunk there is going to be the best possible option due to the very slopey green. It goes like downhill, uphill, left and right. So there is obviously a talk when it comes to dunking that if you hit the pin, you're gonna be in big trouble. But yeah, in how the way this green is designed, even if you hit the pin, it's so much uphill, so you're not going to be able to reach and roll up towards the sand again. You're gonna still stay on the green and giving yourself like a medium-sized putt, which is something that I know you will be able to handle. But the dunk is definitely going to be the absolute best opportunity making an eagle there. And it's going to be actually a very good opportunity for an eagle as well. Minus 20%, which means we're playing that one massively uphill, and make sure that you aim at the back end of the cup. In a headwind, in a crosswind, I would suggest to play either yellow line or to play the black line, but only like the black line to just lay up and then go from the yellow line is still the same. You lay up and then go from distance with a long iron instead of a wood club that you do on the right hand side. Master tee, if we do not have a tailwind, we need to lay up, and then the black line is going to be the way, because playing according to the yellow line will opens up for so many more risks that if you go into the rough or into the sand with a headwind or with a crosswind, you might not even reach for the green in two if you go short. So therefore, the right hand side is going to be the best. 10% over adjustment for the drive, nothing for second shot if you lay up. But once again, minus 20% if you get to where the second white marker or the black marker is. Hole number 6, long par 5, where there is absolutely room for error here. And it's going to be an interesting one. RJ, how do you play hole number 6 from front tee?
Well, I would definitely say if you are going to make an error, don't make it on your drive. With hole number 6, make sure you put your 20% elevation downhill into however much you would normally move it on a flat shot. I would go with an extra mile and a kingmaker. I would also go with full right spin and 4 top spin. Now, if you don't have a kingmaker, or you absolutely refuse to use one, say until you get to the weekend round, you could possibly use a katana if we have a tailwind. If we have a headwind, you could use a titan, and you just might have to put a little bit more curl on it. But with the kingmaker, I think half a ball of right curl will be plenty, and that should have you bounce on the first fairway where the black box is, and then stop rolling right about where the second black box is. Then for our approach shot, it's 0%, and I got a big dog. Now, a lot of people might be thinking, well, what about a sniper or a more accurate club here? I really don't think it matters, because we're landing at a very high point on the golf course, and then it automatically drops down onto the green. So really, a big dog with no top spin or no back spin, obviously this is dependent on the type of winds we're facing, should get you pretty close to the pin for an easy putt. And then you could just tweak it as you go through the different rounds. Hopefully into the weekend, you might be able to get one to drop. But I don't see an advantage over using another club besides the big dog.
Second tee, we're going to play the same route, black line all the time, 20% over adjustment, using around 4 to 6 bars topspin depending on the wind. It could also be like that if we do have a straight headwind, might going to use even more topspin if we do have that on our club. Max right side spin all the time, and we do want the ball to get in between the bunkers and in between the rough and the bunker, or however you want to look at it. And then the second shot, no elevation. Here, if you do have a sniper level 9, level 10, you can play with a sniper. But it all, depends really on how far you reach, if you're going to have to overpower your sniper or not. But obviously playing with the sniper is going to give you a better opportunity making an albatross from distance. But it's going to be a super tough albatross. It's not really that you can dial this one in a good way. You're going to get it dialed in to you're gonna get around the pin, but there isn't really a line because we cannot see the ball guide line towards the pin. We need to just make sure it bounces over the rough, and do not get the second bounce in the rough so you roll short and have one of the tougher wedges in this game. Master tee, crosswind, tailwind, we play black line. Headwind, we need to play white line, and if we have to play white line, that's going to be a major struggle getting the eagle, because even if you reach over to the top there, then you're going to have a major struggle getting that ball to green. It's going to be a lot of people making big mistakes on that second shot for sure. One thing that I just want to add, if you follow the black line and for the second shot, do not use any right curl, because you have trees on your left hand side, which is going to be in play, and if you use curl to the right, you're going to see your ball clip the tree, roll short, and then you're dead. So very tough par 5, but an eagle should be possible. I would say the albatross will be, there will be very, very few albatrosses on hole 6. Hole number 7, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the final par 3 of this tournament. It's going to be a very tough one from the Nordic Fjords. So RJ, my friend, how do we play hole number 7 from front tee?
Hole number 7, I think that says 20% with a Goliath and a Quasar. We're going to go with full right spin, and we're going to aim at the top right of the left fairway where you see that black box. The ball guide should be by the fringe, and you're going to be using about 1/4 right curl, 1/4 of a ball right curl.
So second tee, we're going to play with a long iron here as well in every wind besides headwind. So we're going to play with a Goliath as it gives us distance. I think here is a very, very valuable lesson to learn. We do have a Grizzly, we do have Backbone, we do have Saturn, which all three of them are very good long irons. But the Goliath wins all the time here because of the distance. We do want to aim pretty far up on the fairway, and we will not be able to do that if we're playing with the Grizzly, with the Saturn, with the Backbone, because it then brings you to be in between clubs, as it doesn't have the same distance as the Goliath has. Max right side spin, and we're going to choose the black line every time we have a straight wind or a left to right type of wind. Sure, if you do have a right to left wind, you can play a black line as well, but then you're going to have to use curl, and that's going to make it all tougher. So then the white line opens up to be a possibility, and the reason I say that as well is, like, with a right to left wind, we're going to have to drop down into the water if we're going to follow the black line, because we are going to, we need to adjust for the wind. And every time we go down from a higher point to a lower point, we are going to lose distance. Third tee, we're going to play this one 20% as well. We're going to play with a wood club, and it's going to be either the sniper or the cataclysm. And here you have to decide what type of route you're going to play. Tough one, playing in master, wind resistant ball is a must in my opinion. I do also see there being a sand bump here. I remember that from the last time we played this one, which was over a year ago, or like kind of a year ago, and then we played a sand bump on this very tough par 3. So yeah, take the birdie, be happy with it, and go to hole 8. Hole number 8, another par 4 where there actually is a chance to get the ball to green directly. So I'm very curious here, RJ, how do you attack hole number 8?
Well, I like two different ways of attacking this. First, I want to go conservative, where it plays like a par 4. And we're going to go with a 15% elevation drop using a quarterback. We're going to go to the left side of the stream, following the white box and the white line. And with a quasar, we're going to go full right spin, 1/2 ball right curl, and then top or back spin is dependent on the wind. But because we're using a quarterback, you can trust the ball guide. We're going to land our ball near that white box, or maybe a little bit to the right of it, possibly, to end our first shot. And then our second shot is just going to simply be a thorn or a hornet to the pin, but another 15%. Now, what I want to cover is the black line, because if you can nail the black line, this is kind of like a par 3, type approach in a way, aside from the fact you would never overpower on a par 3. But you could definitely drive the green with a big topper or an extra mile, or any of those types of clubs. With a power 3 ball, you may need to overpower your ball quite a bit. It depends on the wind and wind direction. And once again, like the one we covered before, you actually want your second bounce to hit the rough or the snow and roll out to the pin, and you could pick up a nice, easy eagle.
Yes, second tee, tailwind, crosswind, we go for green. There is nothing to really discuss about that. We go for green because we are going to have the club with topspin. We're going to have the club with distance. It's going to be a club all from the extra mile to the Thor's Hammer to the Apocalypse, depending on what club you feel the most comfortable with playing. And the thing that they have changed here, going with the black line, is that they are made like this hill in the rough by the green, which makes the ball like not roll. It is going to bounce, and therefore it's going to be harder to get the ball over to the green area, and you most likely have to attack this course going for the green with more topspin than normal, or try to reach even a little bit further from the rough, because we cannot now, as we could before, get it to roll already from the beginning of the rough and roll almost all the way through the rough, or like through the rough as well. 15% extra there. Headwind, we need to lay up on the left hand side. Boring if that's going to happen. I hope we actually can go for green, because then it's going to be an interesting par 4. Master T, same type of way. Tailwind or a crosswind. With a crosswind we can reach with a special ball like a berserker or like a gear ball, autumn ball. There is a bunch of different type of balls that we can use to reach, if so. But if we do have a tailwind, we need to be really focused and try to make sure that we're getting to the green all the time. I think tailwind is going to make this hole very easy for us. With a crosswind type of wind, when we're going to have to go with overpower, that's going to be a much more tougher way. In Master as well, if you do have a headwind, we'll lay up, and then the second shot, either from the left side or even if you lay up on the right hand side, is going to be 15% extra. For the final hole in this walkthrough and the final hole in the tournament is hole number 9, which also going to be called hole number 18. RJ, how do we approach hole 9 from front tee?
I don't want to say this is tricky. It's very straightforward, but you need to be comfortable in pushing back up. I think that's the most important and crucial part of this hole. We're looking at a 10% elevation drop, so we're going to have to adjust an extra 10% than what we would normally adjust. I'd say go with your extra mile. We're going to take the black line approach. full topspin with a Titan. Use at least 2 to 3 topspin because you'll notice that because it's on an angle, it'll look like your ball guide's going into the rough on the right-hand side, so that just kind of evens it out for you. Pretty much want to hit perfect here, so make sure when you set your shot up, first of all, make sure you push it back up to max. Just in case we have like a headwind or a tailwind or whatever wind, just always make sure it's at max. And yeah, there's really no need to overpower. If you want to overpower it a little bit in case there is some headwind, that's dangerous, but it might help you out a little bit on your next shot. Then we have a 0% approach shot to the pin. Once again, I like the big dog here. Sure, if you're one of those players that have a higher level sniper, you could make that work. However, the reason I like the big dog is because it's such a such a long hole at almost 600 yards that this is pretty much an eagle attempt. So the extra ball guide isn't going to help you as much as the extra distance. Use top spin and right spin, maybe some right curl if your drive doesn't go quite as far as you want it to, and you have to bounce over in between the third and fourth black boxes near the top of the page being shown. However, if your drive does get all the way up to where that second black box is, in that case, you might need to use just a little bit of backspin and right spin because you'll be landing on the other side of the rough instead of bouncing over, and that's how you know you got yourself a really good drive there. And that's pretty much all I got for hole number 9.
I'm going to follow the same type of route here. Black line is what we're going to play. We're going to go with full top spin, a couple of bar side spin to the right, and we're going to try to gain as much distance as possible. The more distance we gain, the easier it's going to be for the second shot. Sounds very logic, but here it is really like that. You can put yourself in a major struggle if you do not reach enough distance with your driver. You will be needed to use overpower here. In crosswind, I would say go with almost max overpower. You can go with max if you want to, but you don't have to. In tailwind, just a little bit of overpower, and in headwind, max overpower when it comes to second tee. If you do have an apocalypse level 5, 6, 7, you do have an advantage over your opponents because you do have more distance. You also have more topspin, and also obviously if you have an apocalypse level 8 for some reason playing an expert or like pro for that matter. And in the end, second shot's going to either be with a sniper or we be with a big dog or a cataclysm. And if you are feeling comfortable reaching enough distance from the left hand side, then you should be feeling comfortable playing with sniper, because then you're going to have the distance for that shot as well. If we do play from the 30, crosswind, tailwind, we play on the left hand side. If we do have a headwind, we need to play over to the right hand side, and the right hand side is going to be extremely tough. Try to gain as much distance as possible on the second fairway out there to the right, and then we're either going to go over the rough and the water on the right side or curl it and bounce on the left. Problem there though to bounce over is that it's very downhill on that spot, which means that the ball is going to be having a problem bouncing over the water. It's going to be an extremely tough one if we're going to have to play on the right hand side in Master. So 10% extra for the drive, no matter like if it's black or white line you're following, and 0 for the second shot. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Check out the text guides that are in the link in the video description below. You can find them on golf-tommy.com as well, or in any of the communities. And I hope you're going to enjoy this tournament. We will for sure. We will be there streaming as normal, and I hope you're gonna follow us there. Don't forget to subscribe here to the channel, also to go over to It's RDTV and subscribe to his channel as well. Thank you so much, buddy, for another walkthrough. You had fun, I hope.
I did.
Awesome.
Happy stroking.
Much love, everybody. Bye.